Your income doesn't matter to compound interest. Your age when you started does. And most people realize it when it's already too late. Stay until the end where I answer the 3 most common questions about this. The decade decision. Most Americans make their biggest financial decision in their 20s without realizing they are making one. Not a purchase, not a loan. The decision to wait. And waiting costs more than any single financial mistake they will ever consciously make. The time irreversible. You can earn more money. You can learn more skills. You can recover from debt. You cannot recover the compounding years you spent not investing. Time is the only financial resource that disappears permanently, regardless of what you decide to do next. The age advantage. A 22-year-old with $200 per month and 43 years of compounding will outperform a 32-year-old with $400 per month and 33 years of compounding. More money, less time, still loses. The math of compound interest is completely ruthless about age. The excuse decade. Most Americans spend their 20s collecting reasons to start investing later. Student loans, low income, not enough knowledge yet. Every reason feels completely legitimate. None of them changes what compound interest does with the time it was given while they waited. The silent builder. Compound interest does not announce itself. It works in complete silence, adding a little on top of what is already there, then a little more on top of that, then accelerating until the growth becomes undeniable and the cost of having waited becomes permanent. The salary myth. Most people believe they will start investing seriously when their salary gets high enough. Compound interest does not reward high earners. It rewards early starters. The person who starts at 22 with less almost always beats the person who starts at 32 with more. The peer comparison. At 22, nobody around you is investing. At 32, nobody around you has built enough. At 42, everyone around you is panicking. The people who avoided all 3 of those conversations made one decision in their 20s that separated their financial life from nearly everyone else's. The small amount trap. Most beginners believe their small contribution amount is not worth starting for. The math disagrees. At 8% annual return, every $100 invested at age 22 becomes over $3,000 by retirement. Every single month of delay has a specific dollar price attached. The knowledge weight. Most people wait to start investing until they feel sufficiently knowledgeable. Compound interest does not reward knowledge. It rewards early action. A beginner at 22 with an index fund and basic understanding will outperform the expert who waited until 35 every single time. The compounding cliff. There's a point in every investor's timeline where compound interest stops feeling incremental and starts feeling exponential. The 22-year-old investor reaches that cliff 10 years earlier than the 32-year-old. Most Americans who delay never reach it in time to change the shape of their life. Question number 1. What exactly is compound interest and how does it actually work in real numbers? The core mechanic. Compound interest is earning returns on your returns. Not just on what you put in, on everything that has already grown. Year 1, you earn on the deposit. Year 2, you earn on the deposit plus last year's gain. This self-reinforcing loop is what makes starting age everything. The simple versus compound. Simple interest pays you only on your original deposit. Compound interest pays you on your deposit plus every prior gain. The same $10,000 at 8% for 30 years produces $24,000 in simple interest and over $100,000 in compound interest. Same rate, completely different financial life. The rule of 72. Divide 72 by your annual return rate and the result tells you exactly how many years it takes your money to double. At 8%, your money doubles every 9 years. At 10%, every 7.2 years. At 8%, waiting from 22 to 32 costs you 1 full doubling of everything you would have built. The reinvestment engine. Compound interest only fully activates when returns are reinvested, not spent. Every dividend reinvested, every gain left in the account, every dollar that stays in adds to the base that next year's compounding builds on. Removing even small amounts interrupts the compounding engine permanently. The frequency factor. Compound interest compounds differently depending on how often returns are calculated. Daily compounding produces more than monthly. Monthly, more than annual. Most index funds and ETFs compound effectively on a near continuous basis, making them one of the most powerful and accessible compounding vehicles available. The market average. The US stock market has returned approximately 10% annually before inflation and 7% after inflation averaged across the last century. This is not guaranteed, but it is the number behind every realistic projection of what starting at 22 versus 32 actually costs. The starting point effect. The starting amount matters far less than most beginners believe. The starting time matters far more than almost anyone admits. $50 per month from age 22 to 65 beats $200 per month from age 37 to 65 at the same return rate. Starting always beats contributing more. The inflation adjustment. Compound interest must always be evaluated against inflation. A 7% nominal return during 4% inflation is a 3% real return. Understanding real versus nominal returns is the difference between knowing how wealthy you are actually becoming and believing you are wealthier than the numbers truthfully support. The tax drag. Compound interest in a taxable account is slowed every year by taxes on gains and dividends. Compound interest in a Roth IRA grows completely tax-free for decades. On the same investment at the same return rate, the tax-free version can produce hundreds of thousands more by retirement. The account you choose is nearly as important as when you start. The snowball visual. Imagine a small snowball at the top of a very long hill. At the bottom, it has become enormous, not because you kept adding more snow, but because each roll added snow to a larger base. That is compound interest. The hill is time. Starting age determines where the snowball begins. Question number 2. What does the real cost of waiting from 22 to 32 actually look like in dollars? The 10-year price tag. A 22-year-old investing $200 per month at 8% until 65 accumulates approximately $700,000. A 32-year-old doing exactly the same thing accumulates approximately $300,000. The 10-year wait cost $400,000 in retirement wealth from the identical monthly contribution amount. The contribution paradox. A 22-year-old who invests for 10 years then stops completely will likely end with more money at 65 than a 32-year-old who invests every single month from 32 to 65. More contributions, less time, still loses. This is the contribution paradox, and it is the most counterintuitive proof of time's power over money. The first decade power. The first decade of an investment timeline does the least visible work and causes the most permanent long-term damage when it is absent. The gains in years 1 through 10 look small. The absence of those same gains at the far end of a 43-year timeline looks catastrophic. The catch-up impossibility. To produce the same retirement outcome as starting at 22, a person starting at 32 must invest approximately double the monthly amount for the entire remaining period. To match someone who started at 22 by starting at 42 requires approximately 4 times the contribution. You cannot buy back time with money. The lost luckles. At 8% annual return, money doubles every 9 years. A dollar invested at 22 doubles 4 times before age 65. The same dollar invested at 32 doubles only 3 times. That one missing double is worth more than the 3 remaining doubles combined. 1 decade, 1 double. Permanent difference. The millionaire timeline. Investing $300 per month at 10% from age 22 reaches approximately $1 million by age 57. The same $300 per month from age 32 reaches $1 million at approximately age 64, requiring 7 additional years of contributions to reach the same destination. Same investment, 10-year delay, 7-year setback. The lifestyle cost. The decade of delay from 22 to 32 does not only cost retirement dollars, it costs the choices your 40s and 50s allow you to make, the career risks you can take, the hours you can reduce, the emergencies that do not become crises. Compounded wealth buys options. Missing wealth eliminates them. The real numbers. A 22-year-old who puts $5,000 in a Roth IRA at 8% and never adds another dollar will have approximately $160,000 by age 65. A 32-year-old doing the exact same thing will have approximately $73,000. Same $5,000, same rate. An $87,000 difference from 10 years of compounding time. The opportunity invisible. Most 22-year-olds do not feel the compounding opportunity because the early returns look small and unremarkable. The account looks nearly unchanged after year one. The wealth is building in a form that is genuinely invisible in the short term, and then becomes genuinely life-changing by the time most people wish they had started. The regret math. The most expensive financial emotion in America is not fear. It is the regret of a 42-year-old who finally understands compound interest and calculates what they would have had if they started at 22. That calculation, done once clearly, is the most powerful financial motivator available to any American still in their 20s. Question number 3. What are the exact moves a beginner needs to make right now to activate compound interest? The first account. The first move is opening a Roth IRA if you have any earned income. Contributions grow completely tax-free. Withdrawals at retirement are tax-free. The compounding inside it over 40 years is fully protected from the annual tax drag that quietly erodes returns in every taxable account every year. The index start. For most beginners, a total market index fund or S&P 500 index fund inside a Roth IRA is the best first compounding vehicle. It diversifies automatically across hundreds of companies, charges near zero fees, and has historically compounded at rates that most actively managed funds underperform over any 20-year period. The automatic contribution. Set a monthly automatic contribution to your investment account for the day after each paycheck deposits. Do not decide whether to invest each month. Decide once and automate it permanently. The compound interest that builds life-changing wealth is built by the investor who never has to think about it again. The reinvest setting. Log into your investment account and confirm that dividends are set to automatic reinvestment, not cash payout. Every dividend paid out instead of reinvested is a permanent interruption in the compounding loop. Every dollar that stays and reinvests adds to the base that all future compounding builds upon. The employer match. If your employer offers a 401k with a matching contribution, not using the full match is leaving an immediate 50 to 100% return on the table before compound interest ever begins working. Not capturing the full employer match is the one investment mistake that genuinely cannot be defended by any other financial priority. The fee audit. A 1% annual fee on an investment account does not cost 1% of returns. Over 40 years of compounding, it costs approximately 25 to 30% of total portfolio value through the compounding of fees against compounding returns. Choosing low-cost index funds over high-fee managed funds is a compounding decision. The increase trigger. Every time your income increases, increase your investment contribution immediately before spending adjusts to match. Even 1 additional % per year captured before lifestyle inflation absorbs it adds hundreds of thousands to the final number through compounding alone. The patience protocol. Compound interest punishes the investor who checks their account daily and rewards the investor who sets contributions, reinvests dividends, and does not touch the account for decades. The protocol is simple. Automate it, reinvest everything, review quarterly, and let time do the work you cannot. The start today rule. Every day you do not start is a day compound interest does not begin working for you. Not a dramatic daily loss, one day. But the investor who starts today and the one who starts in 6 months will have meaningfully different numbers at 65, from a gap that looked like nothing at the starting line. Time is the investment. Compound interest is not a financial strategy. It is a mathematical force that rewards exactly one thing: the years you gave it to work. Your salary will change, your knowledge will grow, your circumstances will shift, but the years between 22 and 32 will never come back. Time is not just an ingredient in compound interest, it is the investment itself. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing to stay updated with our latest videos.